After the return of economic stability about 1820, every disturbance of the 1815 settlement merely revealed the divergence between the interests of the powers. Faced with a first bout of unrest and insurrection in 1820 1822, only Austria stuck to the principle that all such movements must be immediately and automatically put down in the interests of the social order and of Austrian territorial integrity. Over Germany, Italy, and Spain, the three monarchies of the Holy Alliance, and France agreed, though the latter, exercising the job of international policeman with gusto in Spain, 1823, was less interested in European stability than in widening the scope of her diplomatic and military activities, particularly in Spain, Belgium, and Italy, where the bulk of her foreign investments lay. Britain stood out. This was partly because, especially after the flexible Canning replaced the rigid reactionary Castlereagh, 1822, it was convinced that political reforms in absolutist Europe were sooner or later inevitable, and because British politicians had no sympathy for absolutism, but also because the application of the policing principle would merely have brought rival powers, notably France, into Latin America, which was, as we have seen, a British economic colony, and a very vital one at that. Hence, the British supported the independence of the Latin American states, as also did the USA in the Monroe Declaration of 1823, a manifesto which had no practical value. If anything protected Latin American independence, it was the British Navy, but considerable prophetic interest. Over Greece, the powers were even more divided. Russia, with all its dislike of revolutions, could not but benefit from the movement of an Orthodox people, which weakened the Turks and must rely largely on Russian help. Moreover, she had a treaty right to intervene in Turkey in defense of Orthodox Christians. Fear of unilateral Russian intervention, Philhellene pressure, economic interests, and the general conviction that the disintegration of Turkey could not be prevented but could at best be organized eventually led the British from hostility through neutrality to an informal pro Hellenic intervention. Greece thus, in 1829, won her independence through both Russian and British help. The international damage was minimized by turning the country into a kingdom under one of the many available small German princes, which would not be a mere Russian satellite. But the permanence of the 1815 settlement, the Congress system, and the principle of suppressing all revolutions lay in ruins. The revolutions of 1830 destroyed it utterly, for they affected not merely small states, but a great power itself, France. In effect, they removed all Europe west of the Rhine from the police operations of the Holy Alliance. Meanwhile, the Eastern question, the problem of what to do about the inevitable disintegration of Turkey, turned the Balkans and the Levant into a battlefield of the powers, notably of Russia and Britain.